Welcome back to our weekly series of Is the Shrine Worth It?, where we find out if the Shrine of Secrets perks are really worth your 2,000 iridescent shards each. This week we have perks from both Stranger Things and Castlevania DLCs. The perks are Camaraderie from Steve, Exaltation from Belmont, Cruel Limits from the Demodog, and finally Hex Wretched Fate from the Dark Lord. First, let's have a look at the survivor perks. Exaltation is surprisingly fun. If you pallet stun the killer, the item in your hand goes up one level and it restores some of the charges. Now, although this doesn't really help your team all that much, it can be slotted into a fun build to do with chases. For this, I'd recommend the following: Windows of Opportunity, Smash Hit, Alert, and of course, Exaltation. This build lets you see where the pallets are, gives you a massive sprint burst if you stun the killer, and alerts you if they break the pallet afterwards. On top of all of that, of course not forgetting our perk, you upgrade your item and you restore some of its charges. This perk is very much worth it, and I would 100% use my 2,000 iridescent shards to pick it up. Our second survivor perk is Camaraderie. Just like last week, I'll save you some time and tell you that this one is just not worth it. Essentially, it's a weaker version of another perk, Reassurance. Camaraderie only activates when you're in the second phase of being hooked, but when you are hooked and someone is within 16 meters of you, the hook timer is paused for 34 seconds. Back in the day when camping was a huge issue, this perk was actually quite good. With the new anti-camp system, this just isn't worth it. And as I said before, Reassurance is just better. You can use it on all hook stages and you can use it on other players. I would honestly just stay well away from this perk, it really needs a rework. Moving on to our killer perks. These ones are quite quick because they're quite basic, but the first one is Cruel Limits. This is actually a really good perk. It slows down the game a lot and lets you get an easier chase against the survivors. Essentially, after a gen is done, it blocks windows and vaults for 30 seconds. I would 100% say this is worth it, and you can throw it in literally any killer build you want. Our second killer perk is Hex Wretched Fate. When a gen is done, a random totem becomes a Hex totem and makes the Obsession's life hell. It's kind of just like a bad version of Hex Plaything. I would say any perk that is a worse version of another perk is really not worth getting. So for that, I would say stay well clear of this perk. Thank you for watching and stay subbed for next week's perks and any other videos I post. Bye!